That's the best tune yet.
That's how you say it's how you talk smudge.
I love that name so much.
Okay, well now we can get this show started. Can everybody hear me? Or do we need to use the mic?
I think, can everybody hear?
Yeah. Yes.
All right, cool.
We're both pretty loud, so that's
First off, before we get started, let's get age range.
okay, yeah, so who here thinks they're the youngest?
Let's put it this way. Is there anybody here under the age of 16? Raise your hand.
Alright, how about 13? Under 13.
13, so we have what, one 13-year-old, two 13-year-olds?
Okay, so 13.
Okay.
Our thing is pretty PG-13. It's safe.
PG-13, okay.
There's a little topics we must discuss. Just scratch the surface there.
So scratch the surface, yeah.
Okay,
so we'll be a PG-13 fan.
All right, well, welcome everyone. This is our second year doing well, everybody. I'm a furry. Oh no.
And as much to your surprise, we're both furries.
I know. I'm sorry.
There's furries in this event?
I'm not
Right?
the only furry in the room? What?
Right? So this panel is all about how to be openly furry with your friends and family. You know, those you deem worthy of knowing about your hobbies.
And occasionally with a trusted coworker.
Right. With you and everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. It's about the normalization of furries and how to just talk about it like it's a normal hobby because, for all intents and purposes, it is.
It's already on its way to becoming mainstream. We're just
It's been mainstream.
wanting to
It's
help you
getting
guys
there, man. We're
become,
going.
helping it along
just
to have a
pushing.
positive image.
Okay, so we'll do some introductions. My name's Sendemi, or Shark Liver, or Molly. I go by like a billion names. Most people call me Molly. My character's Sendemi, the shark, and I've been a furry for a very long time. I discovered it when I was like 10, I think. And yeah, so I do a lot of things. I'm a full-time student at UCF for biomedical science, and I graduate this spring, finally. And I'm also a furry. I do art, and I like kayaking and waterfalls. So.
My name is Argon. I'm a dragon, the best dragon, of course. But I've been a furry for about almost 3 years, since January of 2017. My first convention was FWA 2017. I've been a part-time student at UCF for a while, and which is how I met Molly. And I've worked many different jobs. I like to bartend. It's my personal favorite thing to do. I throw parties at every convention. Yeah, of course. I'm also ex-military. Did 6 years in the Air Force. Reserves. Absolutely. But yeah, no, it's been great. I've loved this community so much since I've joined it.
Guys, we got a buddy here who's hungry. All donations go straight to care.
We've got some snacks for the bunny, and AKA actually for all the cute little animals you saw this morning.
Yeah.
Did anybody get to see that fox? I mean,
I did not.
I love that skunk.
they didn't have Trixie. I
They
miss
didn't
her
have
so
Trixie.
much.
No, Trixie wasn't there.
That's who I was here to see. But that's okay.
She's so cuddly.
Hi, other sharks.
Aloha.
Woo! Anybody got snacks for this lovely bunny right here? Sorry about interrupting.
No, you're good. You're good.
I do.
Those animals in care are, yeah, Dane's offended.
I don't care.
Argon is
You
offended.
get out of my panel. Get out of my house.
What's that?
All right.
I go here.
Dane.
Excuse me?
Dane?
You use my real name.
He called it your slave name.
I am bound by these chains.
I'm gonna go ahead and just scoot on over to the next. Ooh, that was convenient. Okay, I was hoping it worked that way because I've never done a slideshow on here. I know, right? I've avoided them forever. All right, so before we can talk about how to really talk to others about being a furry, we really need to discuss what being a furry is.
What is a furry?
Right? Now, furry is very different for every single person, you know. It can be this or that, depending on who you are. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So, is a furry all about fursuits?
Some people, it is.
Is it about the artwork?
To me, it is.
Is it about having a persona? Is it all about just making personas? Some of you character hoarders I know out there on Toy House. Is it about the community?
Yeah.
It's our lovely Megaplex last year. Well, do you need all that to be a furry? Well, yes, but actually, no. No. I didn't get a chance to furify him. I was going to, sorry. So, at its very core, furry is a person who appreciates media focused on animal characters with human traits. And they call themselves a furry. That's literally it. That's all you need. I mean, you could even just call yourself a furry without number one, but I don't know why you would. All of these are characters with human traits. Some of them are feral, some of them are anthro, some wear clothes, some don't. They run the gambit video games, movies, you know, card games, everything. Anime, yeah, I put your lizard wife.
Where is she from? Where is she from?
I don't remember.
It's from Overlord,
Thank you.
Oh.
I don't know your
season 2,
your weird.
episodes 1 through 4.
Look, Julie, there you are. There you go, Julie.
Exactly. So a lot of us grew up watching a lot of these cartoons. I originally had the OG Bugs Bunny in there, but I scooted him out because he's just
I'm
obvious.
surprised you didn't, but you know, Disney's,
Mickey Mouse?
No, the fox from Robin
I-
Hood.
I wanted to, but I was like, you know what? Foxes get all the limelight. So, sorry. I love foxes, and obviously everyone else does. But I wanted to show just a little bit video games, movies, you know, cartoons, everything. So I think a lot of the interest people have in furries comes from childhood and growing up with these. For me, it was Spyro. I was 6 when Spyro came out, and I became a little girl that loved ballerinas, Barbies, Beanie Babies, and Spyro. Dragons. Everything dragons.
Absolutely.
Dragons all day, every day was my life. So if that's all a furry is, why are people so afraid about telling people that they're a furry? There's a lot of reasons. I'm sure you've got a few already in mind. So we've got a lot of common misconceptions about what a furry actually is. A lot of people think, oh, furries are all about sex, or they wear costumes because they want to be animals. That they actually identify as their personas. I've seen that recently with the Cats trailer. Of course, all the crappy news sites are like, what do furries think of cats? And they're like, furries are people that identify as their persona. And they're like, this guy identifies as a gay ghost owl, and he thinks it's weird. And I'm like, no, he doesn't. What? You don't know. So.
And that's the biggest problem is people that are outside of the community don't really have any idea what we are about.
Exactly. So they think, you know, we want to abuse animals, or the conventions are all about orgies. You know, everyone speaks hello, oh whoa, swishes tail and pounces you. So many people think that. And then furries are a bunch of weird, immature people that no one can relate to, you know, a bunch of losers. They're like, why would like a grown man who's in the Air Force want to dress up like a dragon? Or just have a dragon character, you know what I mean?
Why
And
would
so,
you be interested in cutesy animal artwork?
exactly. And then the media hasn't helped over the last like 10 years. You've got CSI, which, by the way, I recommend watching. It's hilarious because it's so corny and bad.
It is.
Worst animal punch you'll ever hear. Entourage as a weird, gross kink. We even have things that are more so made by the internet, like us, with the comic and Furry Force. I personally find hilarious.
I love
Yes,
Furry
it is.
Force. So
Yeah, most furries find it hilarious because we get that it's a hyperbole
It's
joke
satire.
at our. However, people outside the community do not understand that. They think that's legit furries. They don't get that it's a joke and that it's, yeah, playing it up. So we have to be aware of that.
It's self-deprecating humor.
Yeah, exactly. And we're all about that because we originated on the internet, which is all about self-deprecation.
Also, that
right?
CSI episode should be seen as an example of how, as a writer, if you wanted to do a story based on a culture that is exotic and weird, do your research, because this is furry, people are not going to be affected by it, but if they have touched upon a religion or a society, you betcha it will be all over the news.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing, actually. For those of you who've actually had, how many people have seen that CSI episode or know of it mostly? So they originally asked actual furries to be in it, and when they saw the script, they were like, no, this is not what furries are like. So they were like, fine, you don't be in it, and that's why there's no fursuits in that episode. It's all mascot costumes because all the actual furries dropped out.
Because they didn't want to be part of
Yeah.
The funny part about it is, he actually, on his latest series, the guy who directed the CSI episode, made another series, like I think it's like the FBI or whatever or something. They made another furry episode and actually used convention videos and stuff, and they completely, it's kind of like a self-deprecating on his own original episode, saying like, no, they get a bad rap and everything, it's kind of funny.
I think I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Yeah.
Is it the one in the Lucifer series?
Where,
The detective type,
yeah, and they were trying to figure out
That
what
was
the
all
murder
real,
was.
yeah.
But he
What
was-
time is it?
Anyways, we gotta keep going.
We
guys.
gotta keep moving, we got a lot, and I want to have plenty of time for questions at the end. We're at the truth.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so a lot of misconceptions. A lot of people have a lot of different ideas, right? The truth about furries. Some of those things are true, to some extent.
Right.
There is a rather large sexual side to our community. We're not going to sweep that under the rug like a lot of people, oh, it's not all about sex. I mean, it's not. It's not all about
It really
sex.
is all about sex.
However, there is a large sexual component to the community. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. You can, first off, still enjoy furry to your heart's content without ever having to be part of anything adult or be interested in anything adult. There's lots of furries that do that, a lot of popular ones.
Yeah.
Golden Druid, you guys know Laelia Spaniel, they all get involved in that and they love furry. It's like their life.
And you can look at the whole Dutchy community too is also, you know,
Yeah, the
very
Dutchy community,
against
which is
the
one of
adult
the
part.
like biggest communities we have.
Mm.
So the adult interest, I just want to touch on a little bit because I think it gets a very bad rap within our own community. It can actually be very positive for people. Of course, 18 and up people only, please. Do
Yeah.
not be like, oh, I'm totally 18, 16.
You're gonna get a
Please
lot of
don't.
people in trouble if you try to do that.
Please don't do that.
You won't
For
get
the
them
love
in
of
trouble, they'll get in trouble.
Yeah, don't do that. Just stay out of it till you're 18. But for the 18 and up people, I have seen a lot of people find themselves. It's a very positive form of self-expression. It actually helps promote body positivity for a lot of people. Some of them like to share risque photos and stuff, and they're terrified because they have stretch marks or they're very heavy or they're very thin. You know, people hate the most crazy things about their body. And then other people are like, you look amazing. I love that. You know, you make me feel good
You're
about
beautiful.
myself. And it really helps them just in life, not just in an adult way. So it's not all evil and smelly and gross like a lot of people portray it to be. Now there are some furries I have personally met that it is only a kink for them, and that's where their involvement stops, that they are only in it for the adult aspect. But at the same time, if they're consenting adults and they're respecting the everyone around them and doing their things in private, who really cares?
Yeah.
People are doing all kinds of adult things all the time and you don't know because it's consenting adults and they're doing it in private. You know, it's not something you should just blast out to the world, but they're not really hurting anyone. So the community as well is just in general, adult and non, is a very supportive and welcoming community, which is what brings a lot of people in. It's also extremely LGBT plus friendly. Like a lot of places, people are like, oh, I'm gender fluid, and a lot of people are going to judge them for that. But furries are like, cool, me too. Or, I'm this, I'm that. And so it's really a good place for people to express themselves and find out their identity and who they are without a lot of judgment.
Exactly.
But we must also touch that there are indeed bad people among furries. As there are bad people in every single community, in every group, in the world.
In every fandom.
Exactly.
Not even just fans, just everything.
We just get highlighted for certain things that tend to happen.
It gets blown out of proportion.
I'm sure everybody knows about Kiro,
And Growly.
Growly, yeah. And those kind of instances, they get, they get highlighted on our community because we're a small, easy target where we haven't, like I said, we haven't quite hit mainstream yet, although we're on our way there.
Or when the little girl at BLFC got bullied by some suitors.
Exactly. See, that was terrible. Some suitors. It was a small child. She had, I think it was a Mastimals from Walmart. People were like, get out of the photo. Your fursuit looks like trash. She was like 12 or something. However, now they highlight that. But what actually ended up happening is tons of fursuiters at the convention heard this happen because she wanted to go home. She was crying, as I would if I was 12 and someone said that to me. That's horrible. This was 2 people. Hundreds of fursuiters came together, took tons of photos, private photos. I'm sure you guys know Telephone, very popular. Came and took personal photos with her and stuff and made her day. Because that's what the community is. You have a few of the bad ones, and then the good ones are like, no, get out of here. You're not about
The
that.
majority of the community is good like that, and
The
they will
majority
come
is.
crashing down on the people who make us look bad.
Exactly. The problem is it's hard to separate what is drama and personal issues from actual crime. And that's where a lot of things get really twisted, but you just have to do your best to kind of judge. But yeah, most furries are outcasts. Most furries were bullied in school. Most furries grew up socially anxious or having no friends and feeling alone in the world. So whenever they find this community, it forms really strong bonds, right? Because it's something they've never had before and something that they value greatly. And when they see one of our own getting outcast like that, we are having it, you know? We pull together the same way we would want someone to help us in that situation. And that is what really makes furry more than just like, oh, I like animal characters. I think that's really the glue that holds the entire community together. So more truth, because I'm trying to dispel all the ones. There are some furries that do identify as animals. They're Therians and otherkins. Some of you may have heard of that. Some of them consider themselves furries. Some of them don't. It's more like a religious or like a spiritual thing for them.
Right.
So that's very them. It's not what all furries are. However, some people get so involved in furry that it becomes their entire life. They don't want to hang out with anyone that's not a furry. They don't want to date anyone that's not a furry. They don't want to go anywhere unless it's furry related, do anything. They get to the point a lot of times where they will skip bills to go to conventions. We've seen those people. Or, you know, take their student loan and go buy a fursuit.
Oh, yeah. Seven has seen a couple of those in college.
Yeah. So you don't want to get that involved.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be really involved in the community. You know,
Yeah.
A lot of artists tend to be. And it's really rewarding when you are. You know, you get a lot of support. You know, a lot of artists, it's their full-time jobs, you know, just making art and doing what they love. But, you know, when people get to the point where they shun, you know, the outside world, they shun normal culture, as this is a subculture, you know, then they're no longer able to participate in normal culture. When they try to go out and get a job, you know, it's extremely difficult for them. You know, they're usually in and out of jobs constantly. I've known a couple of people that are like that. They can't keep a job because they can't interact with, you know, day-to-day people normally. Because, you know, their entire dictionary has just completely changed. Their entire way of how they interact with people has completely changed. When everybody, and when, you know, other people interact with them differently from that, they just shut down.
It makes it very difficult. I mean, that can be the case for any hobby, though. You can be a sports fanatic. When I was in elementary school, my 4th grade teacher was obsessed with Florida State. Everything in our classroom was Florida State. I was like, it was so weird to me. And that's like, she talked about it all the time. And you know the kind of people who will like skip rent to drive out and tailgate at some away game or something because they're so obsessed. And that can happen in literally any hobby, you know, it's not just furry. So you just gotta kind of like stay smart, you know, you still, first and foremost, gotta take care of your responsibilities, take care of your health, your life. And then also furry is not a supplement, what is it? What am I trying to think? It enhances.
Yes,
it's an enhancement.
Yeah.
It is not your life, but it is an enhancement to
A
it.
little bit of sugar on top.
A little bit of sugar. We like a little bit of sugar here. Okay. The RP talk thing is something I see a lot online. Everybody thinking they're like, ooh, ooh, boji. And like for furries, that's kind of a joke, because we all know a furry that legit does that, but most furries doing it is ironic. However, again, people that aren't in the furry community don't realize it's ironic, and they're just like, why are furries so weird and stupid, right? So, see, we laugh, but they're like, seriously, like, yeah, furries are weird and stupid, and I hate them, and you're just like, hang on a second, you know? I've actually seen a lot of new furries will come in and talk like that because the internet so plays it up as an irony thing that they think that's actually how furries talk. And so they want to fit in, and they'll come in and think that's how we all talk. And then they're really confused when people are like not responsive to that. But some do find it cute or fun. It's, you know, role playing. People like role playing. It's fun.
It's all about knowing your audience, right? The people that you're talking to. If you're in a group that do all talk like that, then feel free, go ahead, woo to your heart's content.
Yeah, woo away. Another thing is, the main thing is, people just generally think furries are a bunch of basement dwelling, smelly neckbeard, mom bring me tendies, basement dwellers, right? That's the basement dweller?
Yes.
Okay, well, twice. We have extra basement because we're in Florida.
Yeah.
No basement.
No
Sinkholes.
basement. Yeah, they're legal.
Yeah, so that's what people think. They just assume, they think furry, and they have this idea in their head of what a furry is, and a lot of people are really surprised when they meet someone who's a furry, and they're like, wow, this is like a normal person I didn't expect. So a lot of people think they're not going to be able to relate. See these pictures we have here? We've got sorority girls, we've got a construction worker, we got a pro gamer, we have a surfer. What do these people have in common? Bet you can't guess. They're all furries! Yay! So furries run the gambit. I know furries in medicine. I know some pilots. I know business owners, artists, designers, engineers.
They're everywhere. They're in government too, in high positions in government.
High positions
of course,
in government.
they tend to keep their furry side more secretive.
Exactly, as they keep most of their hobbies secret.
Yeah. Because they get judged under a freaking microscope. So.
Exactly. So, that being said, if furries are just normal people, like all of us are, there's no such thing as normal.
Yeah.
We all know this. But if furries aren't these crazy weirdos that everyone thinks we are, why is it so hard to tell people? How do I convince my friends of this? For them not to jump to conclusions and be like, oh, you're a furry, gross. And you're like, hey, wait a minute. Okay, and here's just some furries hiking down in the waterfall. This is North Carolina. God, that was fun. Anyway, furries like nature, they're also furries. So we'll talk about a little bit, starting with you. You gotta stop projecting. How many times are you like, I can't tell so-and-so because they're going to think I'm weird? Right? Or because they're going to think I think I'm a dog. Or they're going to think this, or they're going to think that. Exactly.
Yeah, but that's you projecting how you think it would be from their point of view, because you know yourself and you're more critical of yourself than anybody else is going to be.
It's not quite that.
Well, more or less.
It's more of the misinformation, stereotypes that we've been talking
about. Exactly. You see
the
misinformation, you see the stereotype, and you think, oh my God, they see all this, they're going to think I'm a freak, I can't tell them. But in reality, they have zero opinion on furries most of the time. They've never heard of it, and they don't care. That's pretty much it. My parents...
Most people that I've run into at work and whatnot, most of them either don't know what they are, or they have a very loose idea. They usually just know about the suiting and usually nothing else. Exactly.
When I told my own parents, they were just like, you and your friends have weird hobbies, but you're not doing drugs, so go ahead. I'm like, okay. So yeah, a lot of times you judge yourself a lot more than they're going to judge you. You know a lot more about furries than they do. And so things you're scared of them knowing, they've never heard of. Most of the people who are going to judge you are internet trolls. Younger kids, you guys are going to have a harder time because in middle school age, first off, middle schoolers...
Middle school just sucks, period.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Middle school's not fun for anybody. All right,
No.
Nobody comes out of middle school thinking, gee, I wish I could do that over again.
Yeah, I don't ever heard someone who's like, man, I miss middle school. No. But in this day and age, everyone's online, and it's cool to be edgy online and be a meme lord and all this stuff. And the new cool thing is hating furries. And so you see kids who don't know the first thing about furries, but man, that's a funny meme. I'm going to share it, yiff in hell, ha ha ha, But they, in reality, don't really care about furries. I've met, actually, in one of my calculus classes, a guy was talking about furries and started to say some stuff like that. And then I was like, oh yeah, I'm a furry. And then he's like, really? And then he just sat there and he was like, and I could just see like the smoke, and he's like, it's not a weird, creepy person from the internet. This person's
She's not
like
wearing a tail.
normal. And like,
Or ears.
and then he was like really chilled out about furries after that. And he was like, yeah, he's like, maybe furries aren't so bad, and blah, blah, blah. And you'd be surprised how many times that's going to happen in your life. Because the power of being someone's first exposure to furries is unlimited. It's wonderful. So moving on, you gotta stop acting, along with projecting, like being a furry is some deep, dark secret that no one can ever know.
Well, yeah, because when you come off like that, when you try to tell somebody and he comes off nervous, like, you think that they're going to react poorly, and you're just like preparing yourself for the recoil of the impact of what they're going to say to you.
Sit down.
They're going to see that. Yeah, you're like,
Never do that.
no, don't
it
do
ain't
that.
serious.
They're gonna see that, and they're immediately going to think that it's a bad thing. Like they're like, before you've even told them what it is, they're already thinking, oh gosh, this guy kills puppies. Like, oh no. But the thing is realistically, it's no different from, being someone who watches a lot of anime. It's not really being an extreme football fan. The only difference is how society, tends to view it overall, because it's not mainstream. And 20 years ago, being a weeb was not okay. It was looked upon by weird. Parents told you stop watching that shit for kids. It's not. But like the thing is now it's commonplace. It's mainstream. Everybody watches anime. If you don't watch anime, who are you?
It's kind of true. It's like a thing. It's kind of like, a long time ago, liking Star Wars a lot was nerdy, and now, like, if you don't like Star Wars, people are like, what's wrong
Then
with
you
you?
meet someone who's never seen Star Wars, and you're just like, what?
How have you never seen Star Wars?
Have you lived under a rock your whole life?
I
Yeah.
had an intern, I'm like, how did you get hired here?
So
Get away
yeah,
from me.
people will read a lot on your body language and how you act about it, and form judgments off of that. You act like it's a dark secret, they're going to think it's something worth hiding. You act ashamed of it, they're going to think it's something you should be ashamed of, and they're going to go into it with that mindset. However, you've got to just come at it casually, and let them know, because then they're not going to be like on guard immediately, like, what is he about to tell me? And then we touched on this a little bit, the furry trash jokes. We love furry trash jokes. I saw a picture once of a guy shoving another guy in a locker, and the little nerd guy was furry, and it says, me, also a furry. And I was like, that's good stuff. But when you're not in the community, they don't get the joke, they don't get the irony, and they believe that is the fact, saying, furries are a bunch of degenerates, we're all gross, blah, blah, blah. Haha, that's funny to us, but to them, they're like, they're all gross and degenerates, and they will legitimately, think that. Where the rest of us, we know that's not true. We just like to poke fun at ourselves, because if you can't poke fun at yourself, who can you really poke fun?
Yeah.
And I was like, much like in regular settings, it's not okay to go running down the hall, screaming about your favorite team, and ripping your shirt off to show the world your body painting skills.
When reality, you're at your work office.
Yeah, no.
And your boss looks at you like, we need to talk.
Your tailgating buddies will think it's funny, but people outside, they're going to be like, what is this man on? So you just got to be aware of how you come off to others. So now we'll talk about a little bit of the approach. So how do you bring up that you're a furry? How many people have tried to bring up that they're a furry, or wanted to bring up that they're a furry to somebody? Okay, good. Do you want to say? I talk a lot.
Well, I mean, like, if you do want to go up to talk to somebody, first off, yeah, you need to know your audience. You know who you're talking to. You need to understand, okay, are they the type of person who's extremely conservative and they're just going to automatically have a negative viewpoint on this? Just like, would they have a negative reaction? First off, would they have a negative reaction if you were to tell them you were gay or bi or trans, right? If they're going to have a negative reaction to one of those, they'll probably have a negative reaction to saying that you're a furry, just because if they're just going to have a negative reaction to anything that they don't understand.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure that, it is somebody that is going to be, more understanding, even if they won't completely understand. It's somebody who's not going to automatically throw it in the dumpster just because they don't understand it.
Some of us, we all know that person that no matter, they're so hard-headed and set in their ways, no matter what you tell them, they have an opinion that's formed on nothing, and they're going to stick to it or die. And you don't know why, so you might as well honestly save yourself the hassle with those kind of people and just let them be. Also, in knowing your audience, does your boss need to know about your hobbies?
No.
Probably not. Furry or not. Probably your boss doesn't care.
Yeah.
Unless they catch something that interested them that makes them go, ooh.
And then you find out your boss is a furry and you see him at Megaplex and you want to crawl under a rock and die.
But, you know, in the workplace, there's a reason why, you know, most workplaces have a rule against dating your superiors and whatnot. It's because even if you're just friends and really friendly and you hang out outside of work, talk about your hobbies and whatnot, if there anything goes down between you two, it can affect you at the workplace. And it's just better to keep it strictly professional, regardless of what it is that you want to talk about.
And if we know furries, we know drama. So you don't want to bring that into your workplace if that's going to be something. The other thing is a lot of people, like we said, are not going to know what a furry is at all. Or they, like Dane said, they'll have a very vague idea of what one is. You have this enormous amount of power to be their first impression. And then it's not just going to be their first impression of you as a furry. You are what all furries are to them in their head, in their eyes.
Automatically.
Yeah. Every time they're going to think of a furry, they're going to think of you and how you acted and how you came off. So take that power and use it for good. You know, you are the one that convinced them that they're normal. It's very good with like friends. You have friends, they like you a lot as a person, they love hanging out with you, they find out you're a furry. They're not going to just immediately, unless they're shitty friends, go, hey, gross, you're a furry. They're going to be like, dude, we've been friends for like 10 years, and you're really cool, and like, tell me about this, you know, and they may not get it, or they may not be into it, and that's fine. You don't need to like force them into it, or force them to be like, wear my fursuit.
Now,
Go to Megaplex.
granted, for those that are younger in our audience,
Yes.
you know, you're not going to have these friends that you've formed a bond over, you know, a decade. You know, you might have one, maybe two, if you're lucky, that you've known because you've lived in the same neighborhood, you know, since you were 3, right? And that, you know, and that person, of course, you know, they should hopefully be there to stick by you through thick and thin, regardless of what you are or not. But for, you know, those of us who are in middle school and high school, you know, most of your friendships are probably over the past year or two at most. I know I didn't have a lot of friendships that lasted longer than 2 years back in high school. So I only speak to 2 people from high school. I made most of my friends in college. And those are the ones that I've gotten stick by for my, you know.
They're mostly furries.
Yeah. But I got a group of friends that aren't furries, and they all know I'm a furry, and they don't care. You know, because they like me regardless. But in middle and high school, like, friendships are fleeting. I honestly wouldn't trust telling anybody about anything that you think you can be judged on.
Unless you like really, I don't know, if you really feel like, 'cause some of your friends are going to be nerdy too. Like,
that's true.
When I was in high school, I was friends with all the hard nerds and weebs. They didn't give a crap
It's true,
about
yeah.
furries.
It's true. If you're in that kind of like group setting and whatnot, and they're probably a furry also, in that case, it really doesn't
Two
matter.
of mine were, I had no idea until after. I was like, oh, me too. So then, when you're being asked about being furries, how many of you people have been like, are you a furry? Are you one of those people dressed like a dog? Something's off about you. Yeah, me too. Okay, I'm usually the one doing the asking because I try to sniff out furries like
Pretty
a
good.
bloodhound. I'm like, furry. It's subtle too, man. I'll wear a shirt and they're like, I like your shirt, and I'm like, you a furry? And they're like, maybe.
I actually found what was it? He was working in the dealer's den, Democritus. I actually met his mom at my work, and we just started talking about stuff, started talking about art, and then she was like, "Oh, my son draws art," and I was like, "Oh yeah, what kind of art?" And she's like, "Oh, you know, like animals, cartoon animals and whatnot." Is he furry?
The look on their face when they're like, I found out, because they don't know if I'm gonna be like gross or not, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'm a furry too, and then they're like, okay.
That especially goes doubles for artists that are able to do like human artwork and animal artwork, but then they be like, well, I'm not a furry.
I'm not a furry, I promise.
Oh yeah. It's always like stapled all over their.
Even though when
He
you look at their work,
protests
is that this is
too much.
way too good.
Oh yeah.
Are you sure?
I had a coworker that would sell RPs, but he hated furries. Oh,
Sure he did.
they're the worst of the worst. But you know,
Okay.
Lord knows he's not going to deny taking $50 to $100, you know, a night for selling just a pre-written script, to them.
He's a furry. So when being asked about a furry, it's very much similar. Keep it casual, You would answer the same way of, I like such and such kind of music, or I like this show.
Mm.
I'm a furry. And
I like anthropomorphic artwork.
yeah. And like if they think that's weird, I'm like, my guy, you watch Bugs Bunny. You watch like
it's current
calm
year.
down. Yeah, right?
It's 2K19.
Yeah, it's 2019. Chill out. And again, know your audience. If it's someone like you've got like a super religious mom who gets upset because you were listening to that devil music. Yeah, oh no.
Mommy just
Might
watches
wanna-
the Beastie Boys.
So a lot of times for especially younger ones, especially the middle school age, some kids, if they're not your friend and they don't hang out with you very often, they come up to you and they're like, "Are you a furry?" That is like 99% of the time them trying to find some ammo to bully you with.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say yeah, prepare to be tough because they're going to tell everyone and everyone's going to make fun of you for it because they're in middle school and that's what middle schoolers do. Now, what will make them super mad is if you're just like, okay, like, and you act like there's nothing wrong, it doesn't bother you because like,
So what if I am?
it'd make them super weird to bully you. Never react, they'll get so mad. It'd be like,
That doesn't always work.
no, it doesn't always
Doesn't
work.
always work.
It doesn't always work.
And the one that doesn't work on those kids usually have a really rough home life, to be honest.
They got problems.
They have
Way
their own
beyond.
problems they have to deal with that are far beyond anything that's
And
going
it's-
on at school.
It's hard to consider that when you're, being bullied and
It really
you're
is.
upset and depressed and stuff like that. I had a rough middle school. I think most of us did. So either just don't tell them, or if you do, never ever react. They'll eventually get bored, or they'll move off to a different school. One of the two, or you'll graduate and never see them again, and then you become adults and then no one cares. I have my furry shit on my Facebook and no one cares.
I remember I went to one of the biggest bullies in my middle school's house for a party once. We had a small middle school, so everybody in your class was invited to birthday parties. And I learned very quickly where he got all of his insults from. He got his insults from his dad, because his dad was really mean to him. And that was when I learned, it's like, sometimes like that he would say really hurtful stuff, like, "Does your mom even love you?" and stuff like that. It would be like, ouch, like as a 13-year-old, it would make me cry. But like, then I realized like his dad says that to him. Like I can't even imagine what that would mean, like what that would do to me if one of my parents said that to me. But I know it's off topic, but
Yeah, not that that makes bullying okay.
it does not excuse it. There's
But
never
it
an
just-
excuse for it.
Makes you understand a little bit where it's coming from, and then it makes it more pathetic than anything, really, to the point that you kind of like just ignore them because you're like, man, your life sucks. Mine's pretty good comparatively. Let's see. Often, a lot of times, if somebody asks you if you're a furry, they've heard of furries and they have some idea of what they are. So it may be positive, it may be negative. A lot of times, I ask people if they're furries because I'm one, and I help run a UCF group, and I run a bunch of local groups for furries. So when I find one in the area, I'm like, join us. Come. I run a school for
Assimilate.
gifted youngsters like you. So don't project. Go into it with an open mind. And a lot of times, like I said, you can change how they feel about furries. Like maybe they have a negative opinion, but they like you, and then they find out you're a furry, and then it doesn't. They're like, wait, this doesn't fit my narrative. And then they're like, now I must reevaluate. And then they stop being so negative towards furries because they're like, I like this dude, he's cool, so I guess furries aren't that bad. That's happened to me like quite a few times.
Same here.
One huge thing is never equate saying I'm a furry to coming out. Coming out is a much more important thing in someone's life than your involvement in the furry community.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts a lot more like weight on being a furry than needs to be. You're like, sit down, I have to come out, or I'm gonna come out as a furry and stuff like that.
This is a hobby. This is something that we do for entertainment, something that we enjoy. This is not a part of our who you are as a core, right? But like, you know, someone's sexuality or, you know, orientation or, you know, how they identify as, that's much more going to be a part of them than being a furry.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's going to make more impact on a family, because you've got certain families are very tied up religiously, some are very bigoted. Or with one of my friends, he's an only child, he came out as gay, and his mom was very upset because she wanted grandchildren. And so that's something that makes an actual impact, whereas furry does not. But you know, he can always adopt, or she can just adopt him.
Yeah, that's
I had thought, you wouldn't say I'm going to come out as, you know, a UCF fan. I mean, maybe if you lived in a USF household and they would like shun you.
Mom, Dad, I have something to tell you.
I'm a knight.
Nico, Nico, Nico.
You weed, get out of here. Down my house. You can take your wife in with you. Yeah, so just don't equate it to coming out. It's not nearly as big a deal. And that also kind of confuses people, because a lot of times, especially with parents, when they find out their kids are furry, it's about the same time that they find out their kids are gay or trans or, you know, some other gender identity, because a lot of times people's involvement in the community help them get like more comfortable with who they are, and with the welcomeness and everything that furries provide, it helps people explore who they are. I think they find this. And so a lot of times parents will come across, with my friend who came out as gay, his mom came across his telegram and saw a lot of gay things and also furry things, and she thought the furry stuff made him gay. And we joke about that, furries made me gay, hot werewolves made me gay,
Oh yeah,
stuff like that.
all the time.
But we know that's not true. You were gay. That's just how it is.
I could totally get into the psychology behind it, because
Right.
I love it so much.
Right?
But
You're gay for dragons.
yeah,
But see, your mom knows you're not actually going to go and like have a boyfriend.
yeah.
Exactly. So that's something that's like, that can sometimes make it harder for people to talk to their families or their friends about being furry if they both get discovered at the same time, because they're going to think they're related and they're not. People are who they are. Sometimes being involved in a community that's open like furry just helps them figure that out. And what else did I write? Yeah, so they should be treated as separate things when talking to someone about being a furry. You know, and then furries are always going to be there for you, no matter what gender, sexuality, anything. There's a community for you within furries, so at least you will not be alone in that aspect. Something a lot of people don't talk about when they talk about furries is the benefits that it actually has, other than just like, now they are. People have seen This Is the Life of Lisa Ling, the CNN special that had the 3 furries on it. They talk a lot about how it helps people overcome anxiety. Well, there's a lot more benefits than that. Socially, there's a ton. As I said before, a lot of times furries are socially anxious people.
Right.
I mean, how many people in here would say they have social anxiety? Right? Or are shy around strangers, scared to talk to new people? Exactly.
Don't want to ever even leave the house.
Okay, we're not her. Not my sister. All right? And Pat. That's true, they are. And you're welcome here. So being involved in furry gives people a sense of community. There's tons of supportive and welcoming groups. You know, I even saw in the dealer's den, there's a queer art collective, and it's all like queer themed artwork and stuff like that. And I know for a lot of people, especially people who come from places like where I'm from, the Bible Belt, abstinence is the only thing, even though my high school had a daycare. Yeah, I worked with great, obviously. They can't express themselves. They don't see other people who are like them openly expressing themselves. I mean, people are probably like them around, but they're not going to let anyone know. So to like be here and see that so supported and stuff like that really means a lot to people. You can make a lot of friends. I saw, my heart, okay. I know a lot of people don't like seeing like children at furry events. Some people just want it to be for adults only. I love seeing kids because they are so excited about the most mundane things that the rest of us are used to now.
Yeah.
So we just ignore it, and then kids are freaking out. I went to a very tiny con up in Alabama back in January. And everyone was pretty bummed, like no one was really like too hyped. There was only like 100 people that went to this con. There were these 2 little girls, and like their parents were there. This little girl's telling us she likes her fursuit, and then she's like, I'm meeting my online friend here. Oh my gosh, is that her car? Oh my gosh! And she goes running across the hotel lobby, and they scream, and then excited, and they run around the whole con, full of energy, excited about everything, like it's the best thing in the world. Man, I was like, okay, I can't like not like this con anymore because these kids are like giving me energy. And they make friends, and sometimes you have lifelong friends. You know, a friend I've had since I was like 12. She's in the dealer's den right now, Lydia. Back then she was Doyer. We were on DeviantArt a long time ago. But yeah, and with that and the social interaction comes confidence. A lot of people lack confidence. Most people lack confidence.
Yeah.
And so learning that, hey, people like me. People like me for me. I'm okay, you know? That really like brings something up for people. It makes it okay. It makes them feel worthy, which you're worthy anyway, but it's hard to convince yourself that. So it helps people overcome social hurdles like that, anxiety, there's self-exclusion. A lot of us think, oh, no one's gonna like me, so I'm gonna sit in the corner and not talk to anyone. It helps you overcome that, because furries are like, why are you sitting in the corner? Come here. And all of that together boosts your self-esteem.
Especially if you get an extroverted furry.
Like us.
Yeah.
Dane tries to find the ones sitting in the corner and drag them out of their comfort zone.
Okay.
And then
Quite a few times where I just saw somebody just sitting there, and I passed them like 3 times over like 2 hours. I'm like, you, come with me. We're gonna have a good time.
We're gonna have a So the social benefits are astounding. There's a lot of creative benefits that come with furries. You learn a lot of new skills. I would have never learned to sew if I didn't get involved with furries. Me and my sister made my first suit head together, and now when I get a rip in my jeans, or like a hole in something, I'm like, my perfect pants are fine. I don't have to throw anything away because I'm a hoarder.
Absolutely.
But it really fosters a creative environment and improving your own skills and your own interests. There's tons of like work in progress groups. Telegram has a giant one. There's like thousands of members of the Whip Zone. You post like whips, people comment, you can ask for advice and help. It's amazing.
And another thing, like also that I love is like you can also sell all these things as you're like, even as you're starting up. Like sure, your artwork might not be up to normal standards of what people would consider good artwork. But you can sell it for $2-3, and it costs you nothing to draw on a piece of paper and take a picture of it, right? Except for a little bit of time. And as you're doing it, people are going to commission you because you're only $1 or $2, and they'll be like, oh, that's cheap art. And then as you're doing that and practicing on your own time on top of that, you slowly get better and better. And this applies to music and everything else as well. And it doesn't have to be just limited to those kind of things. I like to make cocktails. I like to make them look pretty and taste good. And I've started doing commissions on those. I've taken 6 commissions. If anybody knows who Pineapple Fox is, he was actually my first commission. Did a very, very lovely drink. I love it so much.
It is very pretty.
And I'll make some money off of that.
And that's something like I would have never thought of, and I'm an artist. I make what you just think of, like traditional art and like merch and stuff like that. But people love it. People love. He goes and he makes flavors they like and make it look like their persona, and they're like, yes. And that's just such a cool facet of creativity that I would never have thought of. You make all kinds of things. I got into 3D printing through furries. I got into laser cutting through furries, and I am absolutely enamored with the manufacturing process. So yeah, you will learn some things. I mean, I really would have never thought of like making custom cocktails like that. That was just mind-blowing to me when he started doing those. I was like, what? Amazing! And now you like, the creativity is astounding on YouTube. There's a person here, you guys might have seen her around, Bake Me Up Buttercup. She's a little, I think she's a Cocker Spaniel. And she had a little apron on, she's carrying a little basket, she's giving out cookies. And what she does is she does cooking shows, like baking specifically, in her fursuit on YouTube. Whole time. I don't know how she doesn't get batter on her fur. Phenomenal. She's a very clean lady. Yeah. Just like, there's so many facets for expression and creativity, and a whole community of people who are willing to help you improve your skills. and a whole community of people who are willing to help you make money on your skills.
Absolutely.
Because people like Dane are art whores, and they want all the art.
I do. When I have the money for it anyways.
Yeah. So beyond that, there's also a lot of self-improvement. It's a healthy form of self-expression. I have a friend with me right now who is a very reserved, quiet, shy person. He does not come out of his shell ever. Well, a friend let him borrow a fursuit this weekend, and he pretended he didn't want to wear it because he's nervous. Put it on, a little nervous. I've never seen him so let loose. And the giddiness, you could like feel his happiness when somebody was like, oh my gosh, you're so cute, can I have a hug? And it almost made me cry a little bit because I've never seen that in this man before. And it was really just like so amazing to see that just putting his fursuit on, he's good. I have no idea, I can't find my phone. Oh no, we're fine. We are, it's like 2 more. Yeah, that's the last slide for questions. What is it? Also, with the self-discovery, you learn a lot about yourself in a very open-minded, non-judgmental environment. A lot of people, you may feel alone in your situation, but I guarantee there's others in your same situation willing to help you out with whatever you're going through. Some people may have different takes on it. Gaining self-confidence, and the ironic thing is getting comfortable in your own skin while being a character that isn't you. It sounds so backwards. Oh, I'm going to dress up and have fun. And then you somehow through that become more comfortable in your own skin as a person without the suit, without, you know what I mean? It's really a phenomenal thing.
I think it's kind of similar to the whole thing where people sometimes will every morning, look in the mirror, be like, you're confident, you're a go-getter, you're a hard worker.
It's like
and like over, months of doing this, it sets into your own mind. And I think that's a similar effect.
Yeah.
Where you just start getting used to having this confident feeling while you're in suit, and this approval of people really like being around you, enjoying, giving you hugs or whatever, getting pictures with you in suit. It carries over to when you're out of suit eventually. Just slowly over time, gradually affects you.
Definitely. Not everyone is going to get along with everyone else, and I think that's an issue, especially in schools, trying to make everyone get along. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people just are not. However, you will find your people, and there will be plenty, and you will have the best connections. And through furries, I have found some of the most amazing friends in my entire life. And I know I can see us all together being old and still hanging out and doing everything together. I'm sure some of you have that too, that you found through furry. We hang out outside of furry stuff. We don't just we go camping, we go to North Carolina, we go hiking, we do all kinds of stuff. We go see movies,
game nights all the
game
time.
nights, we do game nights. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with furry. We just happen to meet through it. And it's something we enjoy doing together, but it's not the only thing we do together. And so some of these friendships you forge through this community will last you a lifetime. And honestly, I've been in some rough spots, and if it weren't for them, I don't know if I'd still be here.
We're glad you're here.
Thank you. So, when talking to people about furry, if they're still unconvinced, we're going to talk about the positive impact that furries have had on the community at large. Furries are very big into charity. Furries are very generous. I have noticed furries like to spend money on anything that makes them feel good. That's how I actually got into doing commissions. Furries were like, you draw furry stuff? What's that? A fox? Literally anything. Furries love to spend money. So they do it through conventions, fursuiting, and just furry groups in general will go out and do things not in suit and stuff like that to make the world a little bit better than they found it.
I mean, like what? Every convention donates to some charity.
I think every single one of them does, which we'll talk about that. One of the big things a lot of you guys probably heard about is Dog Bomb, who passed away in April, I believe, or May. It was April.
In spring.
Yes. Through him, so if you don't know who Dog Bomb is, he came down with ALS last year. And since then, he's been raising tons and tons and tons of awareness for this horrible disease. And in spring, he decided to go peacefully at his bequest. Through his awareness and furries' generosity, furries alone in a year have raised over $100,000 for the ALS Foundation. That is a lot of money, to the point that the ALS Foundation recognizes furries and loves us. Like, they love furries. They're like, yes, and these are researchers, doctors, scientists, and they're like, man, furries are good people, because people care. They raise money for a lot of different disease centers and things like that. So there's that. Megaplex, this beautiful con we're at here, supports the CARE Foundation. If you guys don't know who that is, they were here this morning, and that's what the charity auction also goes to. They are an animal rescue. And so maybe you saw some of the cute animals. They had a wolf dog, they had an albino python, and they had a marble fox, which was absolutely precious. If you ever get the chance, go up there and see Trixie the skunk. She is the cutest creature I have ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh, my heart. Anyway, Megaplex over the years has raised over $50,000 for the CARE Foundation. It's much more than that now, because I only saw numbers from 2005 to 2016. So it's well over that now. Yeah, and every year we raise more and more for them, because furries care, you know? We're very generous. Then we have our own Lelia Spaniel. You guys, she's here at the con, she's a local. She does tons of charity projects, and her big thing every year is Paws in the Park, which helps with the, I believe it's the Orange County Animal Rescue, no, it's Pet Alliance Orlando Rescue. So last year, or this year, her team was the second highest with like over $700 or like $2,000. I cannot remember for the life of me. But they were the second highest raising team in all of Central Florida. And she does it every year in honor of her dog that passed away. She also works a lot with other charities in the area, and she's been a huge proponent of positive media coverage. She was one of the people interviewed for, you know, This Is Life with Lisa Ling, and talked a lot about how Furry has helped with her anxiety and things like that. If you haven't watched that episode, I highly recommend it. Have some tissues, it'll make you cry.
Oh, yeah.
It made me cry. And she's a wonderful person. Then you have lots of charity groups. I decided to put ours because it's the one I'm involved in, so it's the one I know about. Agents of Mirth.
We got a couple in here. Do they want to
Yeah,
raise their hands
there's a
up
few
to
Agents of
participate in
Mirth
the
around
events?
here. And we fursuit at charity events. Our biggest event every year is actually the Asian Shriners Children's Hospital. They bring over a lot of the kids that they support at their hospital, kids who have degenerative diseases, mental diseases, kids that will never grow past the age of 20, you know? And they come and they love the giant fluffy animals. Oh my goodness, they do. And we bring them toys and like have a great time, and it's like something very close to my heart. We do a lot of autism events as well. Autistic kids seem to really respond well to the fursuits. And there's furry charity groups all over the US like that. There's a few in Florida. I know there's one in Tampa. Sunshine Floof Troop is over there as well. And there's more in Florida. You just look it up. They're everywhere, and they're popping up everywhere, because furries love making people happy. We love doing what we do, being happy. It's a win-win. Like, how do you not?
I love going out and fursuiting and people like looking at us being like, oh, this is awesome.
Exactly.
You know?
You get kids to come out of their shell. And then we also do, we did like a food drive for the Humane Society. So most of the charity groups will do like fundraisers and things like that as well. And that's something you can always get involved in. You know, all you gotta do is reach out and ask. And yeah,
And it's a huge positive influence for us.
it is. It's a huge, it's like furries make a very large positive influence on the world. So hopefully that can help people understand that you're not just some weird internet slug or whatever. I just imagined a slug, I don't know. Slugs are cute. So anybody?
Anything's cute when drawn by a furry.
That is true. Any questions anyone has? Any specific scenarios? Yes.
So when you were talking about be casual with it or be comfortable with it, like don't like hey sit down, like I gotta tell you something. So quick story, very quickly. when I was in line to register on Friday, I had a friend call me up and say, hey, where are you? You left really early. Oh, I just went out. Oh yeah, where'd you go? And then after a minute, he was like, all right, don't get cold without your fursuit. He had no idea, but then I called him later, I was like, how long have you known? He's like, dude, I've known for years. He's like, the shirts you wear, when we were at MegaCon, you just randomly hug that furry in the fursuit? Dude, and so I'm like, all right, how do you feel about it? He's like, well, I've had a long time to think about it, so if there was a problem, you would have known.
Yeah.
So now I'm a little more relaxed with it. I don't feel like what you said is like this dark secret I have to keep. So I've got another friend we agree on many things. How do you think I should bring it up? Like, should I be like, how do you feel about furries, or like?
I mean, I would probably say, you start like, it can come up in conversation naturally pretty easily based on, hobbies and interests. If you can ever get around into a conversation about art or even anime, it's really easy to steer the conversation from art and anime over to furries.
I was about to say, how many of us said that we were going to a Comic-Con this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to an
I didn't
anime con.
understand that.
I straight up told my coworkers I was going to a furry convention.
I tell everyone. They're like, oh, where are you going this weekend? I'm like, oh, I'm going to Megaplex Furry convention. And they're like, okay. Most of them have
That's
no idea.
exactly what most of the reactions. I got like one or two is like, oh dude, I bet you there's hella good parties there.
Yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I would just kind of, I don't know, you kind of like get going on something else kind of related, kind of steer it that way, and you're like, furries are pretty cool, or like, how do you feel about like furries, or what do you know about furries? That's one I would probably do. What do you know about furries? And then they'd be like, furries, why are you bringing it up? Or they'll be like, oh, they're this. Or they're going to be like, I don't know what furry is. And then you'd be like, well, they're this. And then, then you could kind of tell them like what it means to you. Like, I'm really into this, hobby. And like, it's helped me really come out of my shell, or help me be creative and stuff like that. Because if they care about you, they're going to care about what it means to you more than they're going to care about what a furry is or like your persona. They're going to be like, oh, well, this is my friend, I care about him, and he's usually a shy guy, but this makes him feel good, so like, it can't be bad.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Second question. So, I live local. Along the course of the weekend, somebody I happen to work with, different department, is one of the volunteers.
Yeah.
So, do you think that's going to be a problem?
Probably not. Like, I mean, it would, at work you could be coming up.
Yeah, cool.
But you don't want to like get too personal at work unless like that's something you guys can keep separate.
Yeah.
So that's just
like
usually
a lot of times when it comes to workplace, it's always better to keep it
professional. Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah.
Would it be a bad tactic to literally just have everyone figure it out themselves, like?
No, that's fine.
Because so far that's worked for me.
Yeah, if you
I haven't.
don't want to bring it up,
The only one that I've said I'm a furry to is my brother. Everyone else have just kind of figured it out for themselves.
Yeah.
Just
There's people that work there.
what I watch, what I own,
Right.
have these things. For God's
Exactly.
sakes.
No, there's no rule that says you have to tell people you're a furry, first off. I want to make that clear.
Remember, anything and everything about you is your own personal business, and if you don't want somebody to know, they don't need to know.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how I've done. Like, I've not really gone up to people and I'm like, hey, I'm a furry. Like, I don't know, I'm not that direct most of the time. I've only done that a couple times because it was appropriate for the situation. But most people are just like, I just do my thing, I just don't hide it. It's not that I'm like, hi, my name's Molly, I'm a furry. My name's Molly, and I'll wear like a hyena gender shirt or
It's
something.
exactly how Cycle thinks I introduce myself to people, except that I go, hi, my name's Argon, I'm straight.
Yeah. So, yeah, just like, don't hide it, don't be ashamed of it. I have pins on my backpack. I actually have one that says "Foreign for a Borin." I'm not even into Boar, I just really liked the pin design. I thought it's glittery.
She likes the aesthetic thing.
I do like the aesthetic.
Like everybody else.
But I've got like random furry pins on there that I just happen to like. And I mean, I go to college, I have my backpack with me all the time. Nobody cares. Actually, I have a lab partner who found out I was a furry. And I say found out. It's not really like he was like investigating and like enhance, zoom. You know? But we got on the subject of it. He didn't really know much about furries. He had seen them online and people making fun of them, and that was about it. He didn't realize that they like actually existed outside of the internet. Which honestly was how I was when I first found furries. I didn't realize they existed outside the internet. He is a power lifter. He is the most dude bro looking guy. He looks like he is. His name's Jeff. His name's Jeff. He loves that so much. And he's this huge dude. He's into powerlifting. He's real smart, good looking. Looks like a dude bro, right? Like you just think backwards hat, like snap back all the time. And like he's super chill with furries. He's not into it. He doesn't really get it. But he's like, man, that's cool. You guys do that charity stuff. And when I told him about Dog Bomb, man, he almost cried, and I was like amazed that like touched him so much because he cares, you know.
He's hung out a couple times with the UCF birds.
Yeah, he's been around like the UCF group, and even like some of the more annoying members. He's like, I'm like, oh man, they're gonna freak him out. He's like so nice and so chill. He's very like non-judgmental. I mean, obviously not everyone's gonna be that way, but I was amazed that this powerlifting dude bro is like, yeah, sure, furries, that's fine. Like he does not care. So yeah, you just kind of be yourself, you know? Don't be like, oh no, they might have seen my paw. I have little paw earrings, and I'm like, just be yourself, and then people might just be like, you wear a lot of paws. You wear a lot of dog shirts. Are you a furry? And then I'll be like, yeah.
All of my t-shirts, all of them. All of them. Have them all.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like how I feel like it's the more natural way to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to add to the story of, like, currently in college, what I've been doing mostly, I've been sewing full-on heads and suits in class, and no one yet is fully found out. Only one person actually found out of a class of like 150 students. I'm looking straight in front of the class, in front of the professor, sewing the head and everything, doing the A in class. So it was everyone just looking at the book studying, and then like they look over at me, just going like, "Yep, it's doing fine."
This woman right here draws tons of furry art in the middle of class all the time.
I don't
When she should be studying.
Well, you know what? Okay, I have a hard time paying attention. My doodling little sharks and stuff helps. But on your story note, he's sitting there in class sewing a whole fursuit head, right? And no one's paying attention. And that is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit. I heard a quote that said, don't worry so much about what people think of you because nobody really thinks of you. And it sounds bad, but it's actually very freeing because you're so terrified that everyone's judging you all the time. But see, the thing is, everyone else is so terrified that they're being judged all the time that they ain't worried about what you're doing. He's in a class of 150 people and no one gives a crap that he's sitting there sewing a fursuit head. They're just like, okay, anyway, I'm trying to pass this class. Like, no one cares.
Everybody likes to mind their own business a lot of times.
Yeah, people really don't care. We fursuited on campus, and UCF has 60-some thousand students. And we got nothing. We got one negative guy and like hundreds of positive people like, this is so fun. Oh my gosh, what are you guys? People think we're from something. Like, what are you guys from? Are you Pokemon? Yeah, are you a dinosaur?
Yeah, you're ducky.
No, I am not Ducky. I was exactly. But yeah, most of the time people don't really care what you're doing. They're too busy doing their own thing to really pay much attention to you. And that's very freeing. It's kind of a cool thing. So you can like relax, be yourself a little more. Because I think the more rigid and like concerned you are, the more people actually notice you.
Yeah, like imagine if you were over there like in the back corner of the classroom.
Just
like,
trying to hide and looking at
doing this, right? Like wow, yeah, people are gonna be like, what the hell is that guy
they're like,
doing?
what is he doing? What's he hiding? What is he
You
doing?
expand to multiple desks as I sew. Like I had
Yeah, see, you're so open about it, people aren't even gonna worry
They're just
about
like, that's nice. What did she say? I mean, there was a dude in class once making pancakes and no one cared. He brought a whole griddle.
Where did he plug it in?
They have little doors that run underneath the.
You have their outlets.
And they didn't even question the smell?
No, nobody cared. We're trying to
If I
pass.
was sitting next to them, I'd be like, hey bro, can you make them for me?
Can I get a pancake?
I'll let you have some pancakes.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll take those. You make me some pancakes.
And your professors are never like, hey, like, are you paying attention? Or?
They do not care. There's like 300 students in the class. They don't care.
At big universities, most professors honestly don't, I think. described, as long as you don't leave a mess in their classroom, they don't care what you do. As long as you're not disruptive and you're not making a mess.
Half
You
of
can
them,
do pretty much anything you want during their class.
half of them are gonna be like, you better make me some too.
Yeah, that's true. They're like, I was late, I didn't want to be here, and I skipped breakfast. Make me some pancakes back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any other questions?
I'll give an A for today's participation if somebody gets a coffee.
So, I might have missed this in the beginning, but like, so somebody finds out you're furry and they only know the negative side of it. How do you like go about trying to like explain that it's not all the not safe for work and negative things?
It's not easy.
It's not when they already have made their mind
Yeah, when
up.
they already have that negative disposition towards it, like at that point, a lot of times the best thing is just like, leave it alone.
Or at least try telling them the positive side and see if it'll change their mind, and if it doesn't,
So what makes a big difference, I've noticed, is your relationship to that person. Are they like a fringe person that's more like an acquaintance, and they're like, oh, she might be weird? Is it like a family member that may be concerned for your life's choices?
Who cares?
Is it a friend? Because if they're like, oh man, furries are super weird, and then they know you and they like you, and they're like, wait a minute, she's a furry, she's not weird. And then
she's a little
they get
weird,
that little,
but I like her
it's a
anyway.
little calculus thing. So you're like, now I don't know how to feel. And so yeah, you just talk about them, and like I was telling him earlier, you really like talk about what it means to you and like how it helps you. Like if it helps you be more social or more creative, or you're like, it's really fun and helps me de-stress after, you know, classes. So that's what it does for me. Helps me de-stress, go bounce around and goof off. If they care about you, a lot of times they'll be like, okay, it can't be that bad because I care about them and it makes them feel better. But yeah, sometimes they're set in their ways and they're just gonna think you're weird no matter what you do. And like, you can't make everyone listen, unfortunately. You gotta pick and choose your battles with this.
Absolutely.
Take what you can get.
Yeah.
And that's with anything, man. Okay. More questions? Yes.
so, kind of similar, like what's a good way, like, if you're with somebody at work, you work with them fairly often, do you think it's okay to like try bringing up the subject of furry and see if they're a furry? And
Well, do you like suspect they're a furry, or you like, I wonder if he is, but I don't know how to ask?
well, there was one lady, and it was a subject of art, and like she was drawing something, and it was an anthro character, and I said, well, are you a furry? And she said no, and I kind of wonder if she said that out of nervousness.
Sometimes people do.
Clear to question more about the art than direct to ask.
Yeah,
You're furry?
definitely
like,
more about
what
the art.
do you
Well,
draw
it-
art for? Do you draw for people? Do you,
Yeah, like, why do you like drawing that? Is that like your own character? You know, be really interested in what she's creating. 'Cause she'll
I
open
did
up-
all that. I said, like, is that for somebody else? And she's like, well, no, it's really for me to practice my art. And she said this, over the course of the conversation, a couple furry terms came up.
Yeah,
ask her if she takes commissions.
yeah, do that.
She's building up to it, is what we came to.
Well, you could be like, I mean, I have a character, you know, I'd like to get drawn if you'd like to give it a shot, maybe practice or something. You can do that, and then if she sees you got a persona, maybe she'll feel more comfortable if she is a furry and be like, oh, he's one too. I kind of sometimes will just be straight up, are you a furry? And then they're like, and I'm like, don't worry, man, I'm a furry too. And then I'm prepared for them to be like, oh, gross, or, you know,
Not a furry.
yeah, they're just like, oh no. That happened to me once. Someone complimented a shirt I had that was very furry. And I was like, are you a furry? And then she's like, no. And I was, because I was like, I'm a furry. And then she's like, no, I'm not. I just like your shirt. And I was like, okay. And I felt kind of awkward, but like then I went about my day. Yeah, so it's a little different because you work with her. But yeah, I would definitely be like, you know, I have a character. Like, I really like your art and stuff. I think it's cool. I do some stuff. And this is my character. You want to try? And yeah, I think that would be like more of a natural kind of way to build up to it.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
More questions? Personal
Burnings?
stories?
Yeah, anything you'd like to add? Any way you dealt with like overcoming something where people were like very judgmental?
Positive stories about joining the community even?
I'll share a story.
Okay.
So, what year did you become a furry, may I ask?
I made a persona when I was 13.
But do you remember the year?
Like 2004.
Okay. 2008 for me.
Yeah.
was I officially decided, okay, yes, I am a furry.
Right.
That was around the time where Yip and Hell, furries are zoophiles, they're insane, like they're gross people.
Right.
I took it upon myself to kind of be the teacher mentor online.
Right.
Like even on 4chan, like when the furry subject came out.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I did it. I was a V-tard. I was on V. And when the subject came up, I was like, you know what? No. A lot of you don't understand.
Yeah.
And I brought up percentages. I was like, look, there's a very small percentage of furries who are also zoos, but that's a whole different tribe. That's not really what most of them are about. And, I would do the whole thing.
And not to mention, zoophiles exist everywhere outside of furry too, unfortunately.
Exactly, yeah. And it's also like, my non-furry friends who are online, they'll ask me, like, what's up with this kink? I'll like, all right, class, pay attention.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not directly related to it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like, someone even asked me, like, they were confused by canine anatomy on
Okay.
furries,
Right.
and I had to explain what certain things were.
Right.
New furries who I've met online, like I'm new to this, hey, come here. Let me teach you about our ways.
Yeah, pretty
Here's
much.
what you do, here's what you don't do.
Definitely.
So that's why I was always nervous about like, what will people think? Or I had it in my head. It was kind of projecting, but it was also based on information that I had gathered that if certain people know, then they're going to have the wrong idea. They're going to think I'm crazy or that,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. The internet is an interesting place where it doesn't really matter because you're not, like a lot of times you're not going to convince someone on the internet. And a lot of times people are just there to get like karma or get like upvotes, points, internet, that sweet, sweet internet
Yeah.
points, internet fame. And so hating on furries is an easy way to do that.
I feel like I did change some minds though.
Yeah, it does happen. Sometimes you have genuine people, and that's really cool, actually. Something I forgot to bring up, actually, that's really important is when talking to someone about being a furry, if they react negatively to it, don't get defensive.
Oh, yeah.
Do not get
That was a
defensive
big
right away.
point.
That was a big point. I can't believe I forgot.
Yeah, no, we both did. Like that,
Yeah.
no, that is really, really important. Don't immediately start getting upset. Don't let your blood pressure rise. You need to stay as calm as possible and let them say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, let them get it out and then just stay calm, be the bigger person. Because if you get defensive about it, they're gonna just get more aggressive and not listen to anything you say. Your efforts will be completely in
Remember, when
vain.
two people are yelling, nobody's listening.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, so that is a big thing to keep in mind. I can't believe we forgot that. Yeah, just stay calm, don't get defensive, because a lot of times their hatred comes from a place of not understanding, and it's misplaced, where they don't actually hate furries. There are some people who legitimately do hate furries, and that's just how it is.
Yeah, but they turn 12.
What's that?
Yeah, then they turn 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
there's people that legitimately hate furries, then they turn like 12. Like,
Yeah, exactly,
it's all
exactly.
like-
Most of the hate I
it's all
see
that
online.
have no relevance in the world.
Exactly.
If you ever meet these people like in actual real life, they don't exist. That's the meanwhile.
No, they don't, and that's the interesting thing, and that was like a big thing with the projection, because people see all the hate of furries online, so they project that people they talk to in real life are going to be like that, and most people aren't. I mean, I do a lot of public fursuiting outside in the normal world, in the Bible Belt, where there's all these
Yeah.
conservative people.
Never a problem, right?
Never a problem.
Never one.
There's sometimes like groups of teenage boys that
Oh, yeah.
just want to screw with the fursuiters just because they're trying to impress their friends.
Oh,
One of
yeah.
them tried to set my friend's tail on
That's not
fire.
individuals, like not a single one of them have to do it.
Yeah,
It's a
no.
group.
It's a group thing. That's just what they do. They're trying to be like, haha, watch me do this. It's
It's
so
like you
cool.
get a 16-year-old boy by himself and he's like, so cool.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
People are a lot more open-minded when they're by themselves versus
Yeah.
in a group setting.
Exactly, they really are. People are just a lot more open-minded than you'd expect. Public fursuiting, people usually love us.
Yeah.
Some people are kind of creeped out because, like, the first time I ever saw fursuits was Megaplex 2012 was my first furry convention. And fursuits actually kind of creeped me out because I'd never been around them, and it was the first time I ever saw follow me eyes, and I hated them. Because like I was like, they are side-eyeing me from way over there and I do not appreciate it. And they were just kind of they made me nervous because I also didn't know how to interact with them. So they would pantomime at me and bounce, and I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Or some of them would stay like kind of in character because I appreciated the fursuits for like the artistry, and I was like, oh, I really like your fursuit. It's so well made. And the guy was like, rah, 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 and I was like, okay, goodbye. I had no idea.
I think in those kind of situations, like honestly, if somebody's trying to talk to you about something like that, you know, if they seem new, it's definitely, I think it's important to take them to the side, you know, if they want to have a short conversation.
I mean, you get used to it and you start to understand. And I mean, now I pursue. I don't really talk much in it because I have vocal cord issues. So like, now I get it, you know, but like sometimes I can just like read on people's faces if they're just like, I don't know what to do. And I'll just be like, okay, bye. And then they're happy. They saw me, they thought it was cute, and then I left them alone. And yeah, but that's neither here nor there. Public fursuiting, very positive results every time. People love this. Yeah. Yes.
Are you local?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have any advice on public suiting?
Okay, I have tons of advice. Oh my gosh, when was Laylee's panel? Was it earlier? Lately I had a panel all about public suiting. I can give you a YouTube video of it as well, but I'll run down some basics. Don't go fursuit in the grocery store, leave them alone. A lot of times they won't let you in with a mask anyway. If you're gonna go fursuit at a public venue, a lot of times you need to call and ask because, okay, story time. A few years ago, for Agents of Mirth, when we first got started, we were doing flash mobs in the park at Cocoa Village. And a new fursuiter was joining us. He drove all the way from Tampa. Well, he showed up 2 hours before the event was to take place, so no one was there, got out in full fursuit, and he was dressed in paramilitary gear, because that was his character. And he's carrying airsoft rifles. People called the police. He's all alone, carrying realistic-looking guns. He got arrested. Because, as we found out, we did not know, it is a federal offense in Cocoa, the city of Cocoa, to wear any kind of mask to cover your face and brandish any kind of firearm, fake or real. That is a thing there.
But now agents have gotten more involved with the local authorities.
Yes, so we talked with geez, what is she? She's like the head of like Cocoa Village or something, I don't know what she's called.
Is she the mayor?
Maybe. Yeah. Yes,
Pretty sure she's the mayor.
And the police department, now they love us and they know us, and we get police escorts when we go out there. So if people think we're like up to something, they're like, hey, we got the police. We're legit. Plus we have background checks too, so. But yeah, so you definitely want to like, obviously be aware how you come off to people, call the venue, make sure they're okay with it. A lot of times they are. Drink lots of water, because it's hot in Florida. And if someone seems creeped out, just leave them alone. And don't go without a handler.
Yes.
Always have it.
Never go alone.
Never go alone. That is like disaster waiting to happen. So yeah, that's just a quick rundown, but if you come see me after, I'll send you like the full video of Lelia and Pesto talking about it because they're both very well seasoned in.
Yeah, I mainly asked because like I was looking at like the law in Florida and like some places say anywhere it's like considered like a misdemeanor or a felony or stuff to just wear a mask that conceals.
Yeah, some places it is, so you definitely want to be aware.
You're only in public, private property, the individual who owns the property. Simple as that. If you go any establishment, if you go in public, technically there's a mask law, but there are exceptions. So
Specifically, the story was talking about the village.
Yeah.
That is a park.
Yeah.
That is a square, right?
and quite frankly, that is a completely public area. You can go specifically this, like no law. Like in the state of Florida, yes, there are specific laws about having masks. Well, why, if that's the case, then why can't we do that here? This is public property. That's why you call ahead, you get the idea. Any establishment, so long as they're recorded, that's all on them. I actually had a personal anecdote about having always a handler because I suited at Fun Spot. My sister was actually the assistant manager of the entire park at the time. It was cool, fun. And they got kids coming up, and the parents were actively encouraging them to get me in costume.
Yeah, they think it's funny. I don't know why.
So,
Sometimes they do.
And that's one of the reasons you always want to have.
Definitely. I remember with Labia, they thought it was really cute. This little kid kept trying to rip her ears off or like pull the bows off of her fursuit. And she was trying to pretend like she was in pain, and then her handler came over and was like, "You can't do that, that hurts her." And then the kid was like, "Oh." And then he quit, you know? But like the parents were like, "Look at him, how funny, he's just ripping it apart."
my specific example, the parents were like, "You give me the crotch, give me the crotch." And I was like, and I'm looking at him like,
what is wrong with you?
I've noticed in a lot of those cases, parents are a lot worse because, like, I have a service dog that is sick right now, so, thank you. I have a service dog, and a lot of times, the parents will always send their kid over or try to touch the dog, and the kid will a lot of times correct the parent.
r/entitled parents.
Yeah, right? You know what? Go pet the dog. No, it literally says, "Do not pet." It's a dog, pet it. No! Yeah, I don't get it. Some people are just ridiculous. But yeah, that's why having a handler is so useful.
I think my favorite kid, this Darren reached down to touch my dog. This like 4-year-old smacked their mom.
She's like, "Don't touch it!"
Just slapped it out of the way. The mom was so offended.
That's hilarious. She's like, oh. Yeah.
Man, I kind of understand it is really hard to resist petting a dog.
Oh my gosh, it is. On campus, there's a girl with a service dog that's a big Great Dane. And every time I see him walk by, I'm just like, God, I want to pet him, but I can't because he's a good working boy. Those floppy ears.
The trick is you just become friends with the person.
Right? And then I'm like,
After knowing them for 2 years, you let them on the secret that I'll never became your friend so I could pet your dog.
this whole friendship was a farce. So anybody have any other questions? Anything about,
Anecdotes, personal experiences.
Go ahead.
So, similar to that question, what do you recommend with kind of fursuit to the theme park?
That is the whole, I think
that's
for him. I was going to say, I think for him it was easier because you said your sister was the manager.
oh, I basically almost personally did. We jumped for 6 games, did it once.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
You
you
got a call, yeah.
No,
Disney
no.
World. Yeah.
This was before the rules went.
This was before, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Now, the rules are if you're under 14, at Disney, you can't wear a mask. That's the
Okay.
rule.
If you're over 14?
If you want to wear a mask at Disney, go to casting, get a job.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, that's-
it's not gonna happen. Now, how they did it though, is they snuck it in, is they used the heads as candy baskets, and wore the rest of the see-you, that's how they got away with it.
Ah.
So, the rules have changed, you can't game the system that way anymore, so if you wanna do it, you have to find a more clever loophole. Good luck.
Yeah.
You could probably do it during like
And
Mickey's
do not come to us
nonsense.
with the consequences.
No, I don't know.
I remember there is one day a year that Disney allows wearing costumes in the park.
Nope.
No. Yeah, I don't think so.
They have events, don't they have
They're
events?
strictly
Over 14, you
against
can't have a
no,
mask period, even on
like no mask.
Yeah.
holidays.
Yeah, even for the Halloween thing.
You also can't wear costumes in the springs, which aren't even a park.
Yeah, that's weird to me. But
But it's
Yeah,
part
but
of
it's
Disney.
Disney
yeah,
property.
it's their property. Yeah.
They're so strict that you can't, no adult can dress up as anything,
It's any character.
as
Yeah.
any character besides during the Halloween party. Only kids can dress up.
Yeah, exactly.
They're so
Because,
strict.
well, the reason why is because they don't want kids to confuse those random adults
Yeah.
with actors.
With the characters there, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's kind of a
Because
safety
that
thing.
actually has been an issue ever.
It does. It definitely does.
As one of the characters from Disney, and then they can get away with, follow me, little child.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe not.
So they're very.
And thank you guys for hosting.
Yeah, it's time. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you all for coming. I hope this has been helpful. Yeah, we'll be outside.
Feel free to ask us
I'm
any
gonna go
questions.
slide through this slide.
I'm doing pool after I got escape room.